Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay. We're good on time. So again, just wanted to again welcome everyone to we're going today from Miss Michelle Jasky, who is with the Legislative Council Service, or LCS. So again, we do consider this as part of the ICIP trainings because this is something that the ICIP is attached to. So, and you'll learn more about that. Also, to let you know, we have restarted a recording, so you all will have access to the recording, and we will be placing it on the ICIP website. So just know that we should have it up hopefully before the end of the day. If not, it will be by tomorrow. Okay. And so with that, Michelle, just really quickly, do you want to go ahead and take over the screen, or do you want me to, you can just tell me next and we can do that, whatever is good for you.
Since you have it up, why don't we just do that and I'll tell you next and we'll go through that. I do have it up here, but I'm always switching back and forth between my screens. So this is great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And I'm going to just turn it over to you now. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Josky. I am the Capital Outlay Programs Coordinator for the Legislative Council Service. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and thank you to the DFA for hosting this session. I'm here this morning to just give you a brief update on the Capital Outlay Project request process for 2025. Can't believe I'm saying 2025, but here we go. So I'm not going to go through the whole entire request form this morning. I know many of you are very familiar with the form, but I do want to extend an invitation to people who may not be familiar with the form to contact us directly if you would like a walkthrough on the form, or if you just want just have questions about the process, and we can set up a walkthrough for you, or just answer those questions. We really don't have any many changes, or any changes really, to the form other than changing the dates this year. If you want to go to the next slide, Carmen, I do want to talk about, or maybe I can, I do want to talk about the dates and deadlines for this coming session. We have a new search function that I think will be valuable to local governments and to legislators. And I have some reminders about submitting capital outlay project requests and reauthorization requests. And we should have plenty of time for questions after that. If you go to the next slide, Carmen, the website will open this year on October 17th, which of course is right around the corner. And then the deadline this year is December 13th. That's a Friday in December, and that's about a month earlier than we have set a deadline in the past. For the past couple of years, we did set a pre-session deadline, but this moves it up by about a month. And the intent of doing this is to provide information on the projects to leadership offices and members just a little earlier in this whole process. So as I mentioned on the next slide, most of the changes this year are tied to that change in the deadline. Carmen, if you go to the next slide, or is my screen up? Am I able to share that? Oh, thank you. So most of the changes are tied to this change in the deadline, and the information that you provide online will be there online, and that will be going out to leadership offices as submitted. So because of that earlier deadline, we won't be making the changes that we make when that information goes out to the leadership offices, but we will still continue to do what we do, which is to pull all of those requests into our LCS database, and then we make whatever kind of language or information changes we need to make so that the language comports with the bond disbursement language, and so that we have all the details correctly to go into the bill. This next slide shows the our new search function, and so this function will generate a list of requested projects by entity. So you can go into this top box here. There's a drop down with all the eligible entities. Select the entity whose projects you want to see. Push the go button, and it will generate that list of projects for you. And you can see down below here we have the web ID, the project title, project description, the amount requested in 2025, and I'm using data from last year that's still in the system. We don't have any new requests yet. We also have a funded to date column, the total project cost, and then there's a column that indicates whether or not this project has received capital funding in the past. That's something that legislators have wanted to know. So you can see in this first entry, they're requesting 2.1 million. They're reporting that they already have 2.2 million, total project cost of 13.2 million, and they're reporting that they have received capital funding in the past. So a legislator can look at this, see that it's a phased project, that the project has already received some capital funding before, and see how far they need to go to get to their goal of 13.2 million. If you go down to the third project here, you can see they are requesting 750,000. They're reporting that they have 150,000. The total project cost is 900,000, and they're reporting that they have not received capital funding in the past. So a member can look at that and see, well, they've got $150,000 from somewhere. If they want to dig down into that, they can go to the project summary sheet for that item, that project. And in the request form, there is a line where you can describe your other funding for the project, whether that's local funding or block grant funding, whatever it is, but it comes out as a line of text on your summary sheet. So I think this is going to be very useful to local governments. You can see that all the projects you put in are there. And it's also going to be useful to members because they can pull things up. They can see everything in one county and thus and such. So let's see if we go to the next slide here. The governor will have a website again this year, and we are encouraging you to go to the LCS website first, get your LCS web ID number and project title, and use those when and if you apply to the governor for funding. That keeps legislators and the governor on the same page about these projects, and especially if they're trying to coordinate funding. That's pretty important. If you're pulling in your project information using an ICIP project number and you are a chapter of the Navajo Nation, that information will come in and will show the Navajo Nation as your fiscal agent. The Navajo Nation is your fiscal agent, but we're asking you to go to that field and use that drop down to find your chapter name and select that chapter name. So that way your chapter name will show up in the project title, and that will just make it easier for legislators to locate and learn about your project. That will also distinguish your project from projects that the Navajo Nation may be submitting for the nation as a whole. The project contact information is really important to us. If we have questions about your project, make sure that that information is accurate and up to date. That's what we use to contact you and resolve all those questions. That's also what the DFA will use as a starting point if funding is awarded to contact you and get their processes rolling. The project type for title, I just wanted to encourage everybody to select the project type, and it's just a handful of types that you can select there. Choose the type that's the broadest view of your project. If you're going to plan, design, and construct a community center, choose construct because that's the ultimate aim. I have noticed that when people are purchasing equipment or vehicles, they're choosing equip as a project type for title when really, that would result in your, if you were buying a roll-off truck, it would say roll-off truck equip. So really, if you're purchasing equipment, the project type for title you need to choose is either purchase or acquire. And that's a small thing, but it does make a difference in when members look at your project and they want to know what it's about. Just continuing on with reminders about titling. So the system is going to generate the beginning and the end of your title. So the end of your title will be that project type for title, construct, equip, whatever you've chosen. The start of your title will be your entity name. So really what we're asking in item 25 when we ask you to describe your project is just that description of the facility with the facility name. if you have it, or the description of the equipment or vehicles that you're going to purchase. And then the rest of so if you repeat your name there, it's going to repeat in the title. So just remember that that's already going to be filled in. There is a little distinction for road projects and school projects. The naming convention for those projects is that the name of the road or the school comes first. And in that item 25, the subsection C is for road projects. So you just fill in the name of the road, your project type or title will already get filled in, and you're done. And then D under that item 25 is for schools. And this is really just for pre-K through 12 schools. If you're an institution of higher education, you would want to use A or B and describe your facility or describe the equipment that you're purchasing. And so, yeah, on D, you would just fill in the name of the Madison Middle School or whatever school it is. We have had some projects last couple of years where the description doesn't really match the title. And I think what's happening is that some information hasn't been updated. It may be a continuation of a project, and you've already moved on to a new phase or section of that project. And so what you're putting into the title may not quite match what the description was, but just check and be sure that those two things match. Otherwise, we'll be calling you and asking you questions. The budget breakdown is really important too. This is where we generate our total project cost, and that's a very important number for members to see. And so there are two columns there, the funded to date and the not yet funded. And you may not have anything funded to date if it's a brand new project, but do try to do and it's not a big breakdown, it's just an kind of a generic breakdown categories of your budget there, and that will help you generate a total project cost for the project. Use whole round numbers when you do this. It's very difficult for members to break down their funding into $158 or something like that. If you don't round up, we'll round up for you. But when this goes out to legislators, it will be going out a little earlier, or it will be visible to them a little earlier. You don't need to use commas or decimal points. All of the numbers will be formatted by the system, so you can leave all of those off. And then I know it's easy to generate duplicate projects in this system. If you hit the back button after you have submitted your project, the system will generate a new project number, and that same information will be there. And so if by chance you create a duplicate project, we don't want duplicate projects, because then you might wind up with two different grant agreements for the same project, and it's just a lot more paperwork that way. If you do have a duplicate project that you want to delete, you can just email us, and I think there's an email address on this next slide for Sheila Kelleher in our office, or you can email me, and my contact information is at the end of this presentation. So this is also where you would send documentation if you're serving as a fiscal agent for another organization. And we have a sample letter of documentation posted on the capital outlay page on the legislature's website. So, but we do need that documentation if you're going to be serving as the fiscal agent for another organization. The reauthorization process hasn't really changed this year either. We have moved that deadline up just a little bit. It will be a week before the introduction deadline. That's February 13th, 2025. We do have a form posted for 2025 at this address here. This is still a paper-based system. So if you go to the form, fill out the form, you'll need to print it. It does require a sponsor signature, and then you need to get it into us by the deadline. We are suggesting that you bring 2 copies of the form, the signed form, to us, and we can stamp both copies, give you back a copy for your records, as we've always done. And and go on down the line that way. And these are capital appropriations from previous years that may be reauthorized to extend the time of expenditure, to expand or change the project purpose, or to change the administering agency. On this next slide, I just want to show you, we post any number of reports by agency, by county, for all of these projects, vetoed projects, etc. This report is the projects by county with sponsor, and it's a valuable report for you if you're filling out that reauthorization request form. Way over on the left-hand side, you'll see the chapter, section, and subsection that the form asks for. There's a project title. It does provide you a breakdown of the sponsors and their funding, and you have an LCS web ID on that as well. So it's easy, and this we've been publishing this report since 2021. So you can go back in that little tab on the Capital Outlay page and go back to whichever session you're looking for, or back to 2021 with this particular report, and find out that sponsorship information. Just before I wrap up and we go to questions, I just wanted to tell you all about a project that the Council Service has been working on. I think probably many of you know this, but we're working with an outside contractor to modernize all of the legislative systems, bill drafting, everything that the chief clerks do, the bill historians, and such. And so at some point in the next couple of years, Capital Outlay will be up for integration into that system, and hopefully updating our system. And I've already received a number of suggestions about how to make this better. And we would like to move forward with that, but it really is important that all these systems become integrated that way. So we may be last, but we're not least in this process. I think it's going to be a good step forward for all of us. So thank you so much for listening this morning. I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
So much. Before we go to questions, I know that there are some questions in the chat, but I wanted to recognize a couple of amazing people that are with us today. One is Jesse Guillen with the Governor's Office, and then also Wesley Billingsley, who is the new director for the new Infrastructure Division. So I wanted to give you both the opportunity to say anything before we go to questions for everyone. So I believe you both have access to your camera and microphone.
Hey, Carmen, this is Wesley. I'll go first. Thank you for that. All I wanted to say was, the governor, we're working on getting the governor's forum completed and finalized. And so we will probably have a training similar to this, probably by the end of the month. That way everyone can kind of see how to fill out the form for the governor's office. It is similar to council services. There's not going to be too many surprises. If you filled out the form last year, it's going to be very similar, but there are a few things that we are going to add to that. So just wanted to point that out there. And I think, I'm not sure if Michelle mentioned this, I was back and forth, but we are going to be opening up our forum on the same day, October 17th. Our forum will close on December 20th, which I believe is about 7 days after Council Services closes their forum. It's just to get those final few. If you did submit something to Council Services on the 13th, then you have a few extra days to get it to the governor's forum as well if you need to. That's it.
Thank you. Jesse, would you like to add any comments? I saw that you put something in the chat as well. Can't hear you for some reason. Your microphone shows that it's on, but for some reason we cannot hear you. No, not yet. I heard something. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I will say for your message, again, if you all missed that. So what Jesse put in the chat is requests to the governor's office must capital must, provide an LCS number in their application. And that is in the presentation. You will, again, maybe Michelle can address that again, but that is also there. So now I'm going to start going to the questions. And again, I apologize for that, Jesse. With Billy Joe asked, would you have a fillable form that we can forward to the departments that have project requests? This would make it easy for us to input the ICIP requests. So your project requests. Michelle?
So we do not have, we really require that you fill that out online now, because we have so many drop downs, and the drop downs limit you to to eligible entities, and you can only answer certain questions. So we really don't have a form like that. That's you really need to go online and do that. We can help you out and let you know what some of those questions are going to be, and if you want to gather that information from people before you go to the form. So I can work with you on that if you give me a call.
Thank you. Next question, and you can address this, or Wesley, or I can add something after the fact, but Jeanette is asking, can I apply for funding for a project not listed in the ICIP?
Yes, you can. So the first question on the request form requests a ICIP project number, and that, if you click on that and import the data, it will pull all of that in. If you don't have an ICIP number, you can skip to the next question. And I believe, though, that it's going to be important for you to go into that ICIP process, and that I think that DFA, and Wesley, correct me if I'm wrong, DFA will kind of pull you into that process after the fact.
Yeah, I think obviously, like Michelle just stated, you can try to request funding for capital outlay without having an ICIP. We strongly encourage it. Most of the time, it is part of the decision-making process when we look at funding projects. And so I think having the ICIP will help us with that process. And I think in the future, our goal is, even if you don't have an ICIP, is to try to use your request to create an ICIP. We don't have that quite yet. We're not quite there yet. But I think with our new systems that we're developing here at DFA, that is the goal, is for every project, whether you have an ICIP or not, eventually it will get an ICIP number and get an ICIP, so we can track those projects better. Because again, as we all know, most of the time, this isn't the primary source of funding, or isn't the only source of funding for your project. And so we want to try to make sure all of your projects get the funding they need. And so without having an ICIP and without having a good plan in place for your project, it's hard for us to be able to guide you and direct you in the right direction. So ICIPs are important. Again, not necessary really, but we do strongly encourage it.
Good answer. So just to add to that, for all of the entities that have submitted an ICIP, and you have a project that just came up, right, that you need to add or forgot to add, please reach out currently to GEO via email and request an amendment to your ICIP. We will approve it, and then you will be able to enter that information. If it ends up being on your top 5, we will actually review and give you feedback as well. So just know that, okay? Next question is from Matilda, and it's asking, is the due date of December 13th the same for senior services?
I think that the Aging and Long-Term Services Department has already prioritized their projects, and usually those come into us as a group from Aging and Long-Term Services. You can submit a separate request, but they really prioritize their projects very well, and I would suggest that you contact them first if you're not on their priority project list, and see if there's some other way that they can help you. And but we do get those requests, but it would be the same for senior centers or senior projects.
Wesley, did you want to add anything to that? So your camera on.
Sorry, I think Michelle did a great job. Yeah, there is a process through Aging and Long-Term Services for senior projects, but if you don't get on the statewide list, you can request funding from your legislator. However, we really do strongly encourage, again, to get through their application process and get funded through the statewide framework, because it's more guaranteed funding, where your legislator might not have enough funding to fully fund your whole project.
Thank you. So I stopped sharing my screen, and I can always turn that back on. But I wanted to, the next question is, would you send the link for the chart of capital outlay projects? So what I'd like to do, if that's okay with you, Michelle, is actually guide them and everyone on how to do that.
Okay, so that link is not active yet. I could attempt to show it to you on the development site, but if you go to the main capital page, I can show you where it will be located.
Okay, let me go there. So
it will be kind of at the top. Right now we have all of the bills and charts from the 2024 regular session, just because it's convenient for us and everyone to access those right now. But if you go to quick links there, I think you can go to the capital outlay. There we go. And let's see. So it will be right above this sponsored capital outlay projects. And it'll just be a gray tab like that. And we'll say, we're rephrasing it because it didn't have the 2025 on it, but it will say generate list of 20 requested projects for 2025. And then it'll have a little thing below it that says by entity. Just click on that by entity and it will pull that box up for you. And you can select whichever entity you're looking for and then push the go button and you will have your report. And we haven't yet gotten that on there. We're realigning that report just a little bit and trying to put a print button on it because I think that's going to be important for people to be able to print that out. So that will be there. And you see down below here, we have the charts for capital outlay projects, capital outlay bills by year, and a lot of information there. The documentation, letter of documentation is down in the other information at the bottom. And then we have the forms tab, and that is where you will go to connect to the submit a capital request this time. And you can go to the reauthorization tab right now and find that form if you're already ready for that.
Great. Hopefully that answers your question, Donald. So I'll stop sharing. And let's look at any other questions. So this training we will actually place on our website again. And so if you could just give us, until tomorrow, that way we can make sure to get it online for you. Because, again, what we like to do is actually trim any excess from beforehand. And so I think the Geo actually started it right on time. So it should be quicker for us to actually get it online. So next question is, this process is just for local government projects, not state agencies?
So most of the statewide projects that are coming from state agencies come into us as a group of statewide projects that have been agreed upon by the legislature and the governor, and that forms the basis of the capital bill. So that capital bill that's first introduced includes those statewide projects from state agencies. And then when we substitute the bill, we include all the member additions to those. Well, no, they're not really adding to those projects in most cases. Most cases, they're funding the local government projects and those municipality projects. Whatever other projects are out there. So, no, the state some state agencies might submit projects that way, but for the most part, those are coming in through a different mechanism.
Yes. Wesley, I know that you responded on the chat. Would you like to add anything else to that?
No, like again, Michelle did a pretty good job. So there's a statewide framework that agencies kind of go through. We have a hearing process. The hearings are in October, and then all of the recommendations are made from the executive and legislative side, and then those are put into the bill, like Michelle said. And so, if maybe if you don't have a project that's funded through that avenue, and you want it funded through a legislator, I guess you're more than welcome to use the form, as Michelle stated. But you really won't know what's funded probably until the bill is dropped, unfortunately, or until at least we give our budget recommendations in January. And I know the forum's going to close before then. So if you haven't requested a project from a state agency level, if you haven't requested a project during the October hearings, then yes, you probably should request one if there's an additional project that you want funded through a legislator, and they can potentially fund that for you. But again, the funding is limited, so I think a lot of legislators do like to fund the projects that are in their areas, and so it might be hard for you to get the full funding request that you're asking for. So again, we encourage you to come through the statewide framework, the statewide process.
Great. Stay on if you don't mind. The next question, Wesley, is where can we find the request to the governor's form and instructions? And I know that Jesse did respond, but if you don't mind elaborating on that.
All right, we're going to be putting a link on our website, on DFA's website, where it typically has been located, which is on the Capital Outlay Bureau page. And so that'll give you that'll send you to the governor's form. I think in the past we've also had it on the governor's website, so I think we're probably going to try to put it there as well. But yeah, that's where those are the two places they'll be located.
Great, thank you.
And Carmen, sorry, just to add, we'll go over that too. Once we do the presentation at the end of this month, we'll show you where to go to find both in both those locations.
Excellent, thank you so much. Great, and just going through the list. Sorry, there's a lot of it's already been addressed. Thank you, Jesse. But Jesse put a link to the governor's website. And next question is from Shelley and says, can you please confirm that reauthorization is still a paper process? And if so, is there a start date for submitting reauthorizations? I know that there is an end date.
Right, and so we have that form up right now. If you know that you need a time extension or whatever it is, or changing your project, you can go online, find that form, fill it out, and get it to your legislators, and that helps us. The earlier we get them, the easier it is for us to put all those together. They traditionally come. We have to get them early. We do check with the other sponsors to make sure that everybody's on board with whatever change is happening. And so the earlier you get them to us, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's you answered the next question, so that's good. And also the next question, everyone's asking about reauths right now. Oh, well, this is a good question. On reauthorizations, we still have to cite the original citation law in the form that the LCS provides to us, correct?
That's correct. That we ask for that. I know sometimes it's hard to find that information, and we're going to go through and verify it all anyway, but yeah, if you can provide that, that's great.
Thank you. Next question is from Debbie, is why are some projects underfunded? Even though a total project cost is submitted, there are no matching funds, so we will have to submit for maybe 3 projects for reauthorization, which prolongs completing the project. Thank you. Anyone want to respond?
Yes. So we're hoping that getting this information to legislators a little earlier will help them to target that. I think that really is the biggest problem that people run into is underfunding. So I would encourage you to talk to your legislators, tell them that you really need this amount to get to that, to get that project going, and see how much funding you can coordinate that way. You will have a little bit more time this year to talk to them about funding. So it's a perennial problem.
Let me add on to that too, Carmen, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Sure.
And so, yeah, we do realize that that is one of the biggest problems is underfunded projects. And so a couple of points I wanted to make is I know, some local governments do have their own local geo bonds and local funds. And so sometimes they can match it with those funds. So just be, that is an opportunity. But I know that there are some small local entities that don't have that opportunity. So one thing that we're trying to do with our new division, with the infrastructure division, is to identify these projects ahead of time and try to find alternate funding sources. There are federal funds available right now. There's lots of federal funding available, in addition to other state funds that are available. There's lots of water funding programs in Environments Department and lots of other agency state funds that we could potentially tap into for you. So we're going to be doing that, and that is another really good reason why you should get on an ICIP. We will be using these ICIPs in the future to try to help all of this, probably even before you get to the capital outlay request form. That's one of the goals of this new division, is to identify projects that need funding, try to help you find funding, and maybe a last resort will be to get you an additional $50,000 or $100,000, as opposed to just getting $50,000 or $100,000 at a time. So that is one thing that we are working on in this new division. So there will be more to come within this next year, but we do know that that's a problem, and that's one of the things we're going to be working on.
Thank you. Thank you both. Question is, again, this is from Tony. Is it true that they are encouraging entities to apply for Water Trust Board through Water Trust Board for water projects instead of applying for capital outlay on water projects?
I think that generally speaking, legislators are moving toward that, and just because that's those systems require so much funding. And I think a lot of legislators feel that even with all the money they've had recently, they don't have enough money to address those things. And there are these excellent mechanisms, and I'm sure Wesley could tell you more about them through the Department of Environment and NMFA that can address those types of projects.
Yeah, so I think going through the Water Trust Board, I think, is definitely something that you should do prior to requesting capital outlay, or even if you did receive some capital outlay funding and you need more funding, applying through the Water Trust Board, because they do have funding available. There are lots of projects that go through there, and they obviously don't have funding for everyone, the same as legislators, but I think that is a good place that you can go. Also, again, back to the infrastructure division, we are going to be looking for maybe a huge or bigger federal grant that could help with water projects throughout the state too, as well. So again, we're gonna continue to fight those efforts on water and trying to make sure that the whole state has access to water and good running water systems. So yes. Apply through Water Trust Board. If you're an area down at the bottom of the state, apply through Colonias. If you're a tribal entity, apply through your TIF, and then also then the remainder of it maybe coming through capital outlay or some other source. But yeah, try every place that you can, every location you can, to try to give yourself a chance to fully fund your projects.
Thank you again. Thank you both. Question is, there was confusion in the past about governor requests. Do we request the same projects or different projects? I'm sorry, I missed that.
I think the intent is, and especially with Jesse's comment, I think really we're trying to jointly fund these projects. And so you should have that LCS web ID when you go to apply for the governor's funding. Wesley wants to add to that.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So I think it doesn't matter whether they're projects that are different from what you request from the legislator or not. They still need that LCS ID number because we need to get the project into the system regardless. And so yes, if you have projects that you want to request from a legislator, but you also want to request funding from the governor, feel free to ask for those as well. I think those are really good ones that we can kind of combine funding sources and get you a full amount for your request. Because again, we know legislators don't have all the funding in the world, and so we have to try to find ways to get more funding for you. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, same projects or different projects, it doesn't matter. We're going to try to fund them, and the governor has lots of policies that she wants to get funded. And so you'll see those whenever we actually finalize the form, that if one of your projects is one of those main policy areas, you're more likely to get funded because there are certain things that the governor does want to fund. And so those will be listed on the form once it's finalized.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So thank you, Andres, for putting in the information on the water and wastewater infrastructure link through the Environment Department. So everyone, that's on there for you. And just know that you still have access to the chat after the meeting is ended. And we are a little bit over time, so I just wanted to get to this question specifically because it is on water projects. Oops, it just went away. Oh, it seems that water projects do not include irrigation water. Where do we apply for irrigation projects?
So those would be eligible if you're in acequia or through the irrigation districts, and those are eligible capital projects. Most of them go through the Interstate Stream Commission. Some of them would go, I guess, directly through that irrigation district. But those would be eligible items, and it would be helpful to know if that's coming from an irrigation district or an acequia or mutual domestic or something. And Wesley may know more about that as well.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about irrigation districts and acequia projects, the Office of the State Engineer, as well as the Interstate Stream Commission, they also have resources and funds available for you to apply for or for access. So I encourage you to reach out to their offices, and they can also supply another funding source. But maybe this person was probably relating to or trying to get to the point where maybe the Water Trust Board doesn't accept those irrigation projects. And so maybe that's what it is. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check with the Water Trust Board just to clarify. But I do know that, again, OSE and ISC both have funds available for irrigation districts and acequias.
Thank you. And I did misspoke earlier. This actual training doesn't end until 11:30, so my apologies on that. So I will go back into some questions. Wesley, if you don't mind adding your information or the information for the New Mexico, they're asking for the New Mexico Federal Grant Coordinator. If we could put that in the chat, that would be great.
I will do that.
Thank you so much. And okay, so there was a question in here that stated that they were confused. They just submitted their 2026-2030 ICIP. Is that something different from submitting for the capital outlay request forms?
Yes, and there is a lot of confusion about that, and we try to clear that up every year. But the ICIP really is that 5-year plan, and that prioritizes your projects. And then a few years ago, we set up this system so that the form, you can enter your ICIP project number, and it will populate the form with the information from the ICIP. So there is a link there, but really in the ICIP, there is no specific request for funding to the legislature. So that's what this form does. If you pull in your ICIP information, you're also asked to provide the amount that you're requesting this session from the legislature. That 5-year plan has budget information over time, and that budget information will be filled in to the form as well. But yeah, they are separate things, and you do need to make that capital request, fill out that form to get that request in front of legislators.
Thank you. So again, remember that the ICIP is your plan for your entity. So whatever projects you all are looking at, that's your plan, and that's what you use in order to be able to try to get funding from other funding sources, whether it be capital outlay or federal funds, all of that. So that's why it's so important to include, your projects in the ICIP and participate in that as well. So everybody, thank you for all of the information you're putting in the chat for everyone. So please, again, ICIP information is available in there. All of the trainings that we've done so far are also available in there. ICIP deadlines have already passed. So again, if you have any if you missed it, please reach out to Giovanna Losito with currently with that we're still managing the ICIP. It will be moving to the new infrastructure division, which we're excited about as well, because they're going to be doing some amazing things with the ICIP. Again, new system, all of that good stuff is coming. So just know that, everyone, we're really excited about that. Let me see if I've missed anything. Again, someone asked, is there orientation available to those who are relatively new to New Mexico funds and how to process work? If so, can you please send me information? So all the ICIP information is definitely in all of the trainings that have been provided by the different funding sources are available on our ICIP website. So just know that. Does anybody, Michelle or Wesley, want to add to that?
We have information posted as well on the Capitol page about how to apply for funding, and we're happy to walk you through the whole, the process that the LCS engages in every year. And you can contact me, and we can set that up for you that way.
And Carmen, from our end, our new division will be working on trying to provide a navigation portal for funding for all types of different funding sources. So look for that to come as well. You'll be able to access our site and find whatever funding sources you need, whether it's federal funding or state funding. There should be everything from water to economic development and everything. So more to come on that. Hopefully we'll have that up as soon as possible after we get fully staffed.
Great. Thank you so much. Also, just to add on the ICIP publication, right? We still are in the review process for that. And so we are behind on our own deadline that we had to try to get this published by mid-September, but now it looks like it's going to be early October. So just know that. And again, we're still in the review process. If you have not heard from us, just assume that everything is good. But, one of the things that we are seeing is the budgets, because we did add a different budget in there. So just if you could go in there really quickly, if you have not heard from us, and just make sure that all of the budgets are populated. And if Gio, if you want to add anything to that, you're welcome to, say something as well.
Just to say that we're still reviewing. Please be patient with us. And if we don't reach out, it's always good. So don't worry. We'll take care of you either way. And I'm here if you guys need anything for the ICIP stuff.
Thank you so much, Gio, and thanks for helping with this meeting as well. So we have now, thank you, Sandy. I was going to ask if anybody has any questions, if you want to just raise your hand and we can unmute you and then you're able to ask your question. So whenever you're ready, Sandy, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sandy Chansey. I'm the Executive Director of the Eastern Plains Council of Governments. I just wanted to remind everyone that your councils of government staff can help you with this capital outlay request process as well as your ICIP. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you don't know who your council of government is, contact DFA. They'll point you in the right direction. We're working on getting a website up for the New Mexico Association of Regional Councils to make that a little easier. But until we get that done, if you'll just contact Department of Finance Administration, they'll be happy to point you in our direction.
Yes, thank you so much, Sandy. And just to let you all know, not only do we have the all of the trainings recorded, right, that we that have done so far. There's been 20. This is number 21. We also have the PDFs for the presentations, and at the end of those are all you can look at that, and all of the contact information for the COGS are there as well. Okay, so just to let you know that. Any other questions that you'd like to have us unmute you? So go ahead. Kara has a question. Can unmute her, please. Okay, Kara, go ahead.
Wesley, you had mentioned training later this month. Can you please advise what what that's been sent out as? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what's been
Sure.
scheduled.
Sure, nothing's been scheduled yet. We're still finalizing the form. So as you saw, Michelle went through her form. Today, we're going to finalize our form and then try to get a training opportunity out. Like I said, hopefully by the end of September, if not the first week of October. We definitely want to have it ready before it goes live. So we'll be sending something out to you, hopefully within the next week or so, on a date to present on that form.
Thank you so much.
Great. Anyone else like to ask a question? So thank you, Gio. Someone again asked about how to access all of the trainings. Gio just posted that on the chat. So then if anybody else, does want to know where that's at, just please go ahead and click on that. It'll take you directly to the links and where all of the PDFs are as well. So we have another question from Crown Point. We can unmute you. Almost there. Give us a second. Gio, do you mind assisting with unmute?
They're unmuted, but
Okay, so your mic, please. All it shows you as is Crown Point. I'm sorry, I don't have a name. So if you don't mind unmuting yourself and you can ask your question. There you go.
Hello, I'm Rita from South Chat. I just have a question. If we request for more funding on a project that we already have in place, would there be a new deadline for that project if we were to get more money into that project?
So you can't. Oh, I'm sorry. So the new.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had some kind of an echo here.
Yeah.
So the new project funding would have a new funding range. So if your first project went from 2024 to 2027, the next project would go from 2025. Project. I think I'm short by a year there, but it would be four-year funding process for construction projects, 2-year funding process for equipment. So if you're adding on to that project, you would need to spend up that money from the first round, a year earlier than the second round funding.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, again, just going to leave you with some any ending remarks that you have, Michelle, if you'd like, and Wesley, anything that you'd like to add, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, thank you all so much for being here, for all the great questions, and we are happy to answer any other questions that come up, and just give us a call over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. We always appreciate you doing this training. Everyone always asks, when is that going to happen? So thank you again for doing this for us. We truly appreciate it. And Wesley, would you like to add any ending remarks?
Sure, Carmen. I'll just say that, Michelle and I work really. Anything that you want to, any questions you have, feel free to reach out to myself or Michelle. Michelle does handle the LCS form, and so any form related questions, they should probably go to her directly. But again, if you reach out to me, I'll definitely make sure that she gets the question, so she can respond accordingly. But just wanted to let everyone know that we do work really close together on this process.
Great. Thank you so much. So one thing that I wanted to do is actually invite you all to attend our upcoming New Mexico Infrastructure Finance Conference. I added a link to the chat and just wanted to, again, invite you to that. We are so pleased that we actually have the governor's office in assisting us with this event. There are going to be some amazing presentations that you've never seen before at the Infrastructure Finance Conference. This year it is October 28th through the 30th at the Isleta Resort and Casino. So the link will take you to there. Registration is open, and the at a glance draft schedule is there. And so, again, just hope that you all can attend. We also have some opportunities for scholarships if you all are interested. That will be closing soon. Again, all of that is on the website. And so please, again, if you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I will be happy to answer any questions you have on that. And with that, I want to, again, thank you all so much for joining us. Again, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Wesley. Thank you, Jesse. We truly appreciate you so much. And thank you to everyone and staff that are attending as well. Just truly appreciate everyone being here today. Have a wonderful rest of your day and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.